Hello.
Click on it. It's not live yet.
Are we live?
I guess so, man. It says we're live.
Well, what's up, guys? It says we're not live here. We were just testing the equipment. But anyways, Georgia Bulldogs, we are live. Yeah, what's going on, guys? Yeah, turn that off. But anyways, guys, what's going on? What's going on? Trent and Paul live, apparently, even though it's not live over on YouTube right now. It's live, Trent. We are live, brother. Big win for Georgia.
Huge. I mean,
Season-changing win. The big thing about the show tonight is going to be basically, are you riding with the dogs or are you kind of falling back? And this was just kind of one of those games where, let's see what they do against Missouri. So are you shaking and baking or are you sitting back and waiting? That's kind of going to be the thing. So shake and bake or sitting back and wait. And Trent, great game for the dogs, man.
After all the talk about the offense and James Coley and Jake Fromm not using the middle of the field, I thought it was a total 180. I know Jake Fromm said this offense ain't going to be a total 180, but I thought it was. It was a total.
No, it totally was different.
Jake Fromm was awesome, but I also think, look, the offensive line was just remarkable. 9 QB pressures by Florida the whole game. Fromm was hit 3 times, I believe it was. I mean, that's just insane to just have that much time in the pocket. Allow Fromm to go through his progressions and just find the open man, and he did. And I mean, he was 20 of 30. He had some missed throws. He missed Demetrius Robertson for a touchdown in the first quarter. But he also has a couple drops. Matthew Landers
Was it 2?
No, I know he had one.
I know he had one where it touched his fingertips.
And you got to have. I mean, you just have to go after the ball.
Yeah. In that situation, you have to go after the ball in any situation.
He just looked like he was half.
Yeah.
But that ball's got to be caught. He threw a good pass to Landers. Not Landers. Cager in the back of the end zone. He overthrew it just a tad. He was moving to his left. He bought some time. Cager redirected, found some open space. I think he could have completed that. But overall, I thought Jake Fromm had a phenomenal night. And just to – he bought some time. Cager redirected. And just to show you how much faith that Coley and Kirby had in him.
Yeah.
That's what I've been talking about the whole year. You're too conservative. Guess what? Yesterday, Dominic Blaylock returned a punt. On 3rd and 8, when Florida having no timeouts, Kirby usually just runs the ball.
Yeah.
Hey, and gives Florida an opportunity, but the time's running with no timeouts. He went for the dagger, and that's what I've been asking to just for the overall team to give that confidence in Jake to show that he could do it, and Jake did it.
And, guys, remember, you can give us a call over at 620-UGA-TALK. 620-UGA-TALK is where you can find us on this evening here. We switched it up. We're going Sunday nights now instead of Thursday nights. I think it's a better move for us. We can talk about the game that really just happened. It's a lot fresher on most people's minds. And we can talk about the game coming up. And, I think it's just a better time in general. More people are kind of chilling right now, especially with it being daylight savings time. Trent, I thought you were coming over to my house at like midnight, man.
That's what it felt like.
It felt
I was
like,
ready to
yeah,
get to
man.
bed about 3 hours ago.
Yeah, so it was pretty wild, guys. But overall, I think that Georgia went down there. They handled business. Did they leave out with some question marks? Sure, but were a lot of questions answered? Absolutely. I think that Kirby Smart mentioned it. Jake Fromm mentioned it a lot, and we'll talk about both of these things. But the big thing is Jake Fromm and Kirby Smart got on the same page. Kirby Smart talked about it in his post-game press conference about how him and Jake Fromm went out to lunch a couple times. And then he talked about it again a little more. And Jake basically said right after the game, look, I can throw the ball, prove these haters wrong type thing. I think that was kind of their motivation going into this game. You had the Kentucky monsoon. You had a bye week right after that. Before the Kentucky game, you lost to South Carolina. You needed to come back and show people you were for real. And now people are going to say, well, are the Gators a top 10 team? They are a top 10 team. They've got playmakers at every position. Kyle Pitts at tight end is going to be amazing. Georgia was recruiting him at one point. But overall, I think the game in and of itself couldn't have gone better. I know it finished 24-17. Did not feel like that, though. And a couple of the reasons were, like you mentioned, Jake Fromm. You've touched on the wide receivers. But the defense for Georgia, not allowing another rushing touchdown for the 8th game in a row. That's 0 this season. Talk to me about the defense and what they were able to do against Kyle Trask.
Well, I thought and Mullen talked about it in his post-game press conference. The defensive line came out and set the tone of the game, and Mullen pretty much said that because what he said was, we expected to get points, we expected Georgia to be playing from behind, and that threw our whole game plan off. Well, who threw that whole game plan off was Georgia having the ball, Florida having the ball at 2nd and 1, Georgia stopping them getting it back to 3rd and 1, Georgia stopping, and then 4th and inches. And Mullen goes 5 wide, and the defense stepped up. Richard LeCount knocked the ball away from Pitts. But I thought the D-line is what set the tone of the game, and the defense line dominated. I said there is no true superstar.
There's not one superstar on that defense.
I don't think you have a first-round pick on that defense, but they are a solid group, and they're playing together, and that is a lot of credit to Trey Scott and that group.
What about the linebackers? Azeez Ojulari had a crushing sack. And even in the defensive backfield, without Tyson Campbell back there, which we thought he was going to be back, I thought that Florida's wide receivers and tight ends were going to be a huge matchup problem. Kyle Pitts turned out to be one that kind of quit going his way a little bit. But overall, the defense, in my opinion, like you said, no one big, huge name. I talked to Roddy, our publisher over at UJSports.com today. There's not one huge name on the defensive side of the ball. There's not a Roquan Smith. There's not a Reggie Ragland from Alabama that everybody knew. There's just a bunch of guys, and it's a bunch of depth. Yep. And that's the biggest thing Kirby's preached on, and you see it happening right now.
Yep. And in one spot I looked at in the game, and I mentioned it in my PFF report of the day, a matchup to watch. Georgia's weak point at their offensive line this year has been the center position. Trey Hill's a first-year starter. It's been the center position. Florida's weak spot of their defensive line is nose tackle. I said, who wins that battle is gonna play a big factor in the game. And Trey Hill had his highest graded pass protection game of the year. I think it was 85.4 according to Pro Football Focus, or 85 point something. So that is Hill definitely stood up. The whole offensive line. I mean, it was just. Florida lost to LSU last week, and they blamed a lot of it on
penalties.
Well, penalties.
No, they blamed this game on penalties. They blamed last game on injuries.
Yeah. And they didn't have their top 2 defensive ends. Well, you had Mullen. You had your top 2 defensive ends. You had your Kadarius Toney back at wide receiver, your playmaker, and Georgia still found a way to win. And it's good for the Dogs to go in and beat them with their full team.
I know that one thing that a lot of folks were talking about, and I think one of our staff members over at UJSports.com just dropped in the chat, said terrible first series for Florida. The first series for Florida, I thought I was looking at a game that I thought was going to get out of hand. And Florida shot themselves in the foot, ended up getting a field goal, if I remember correctly, and didn't materialize into anything. And I think that's kind of where the momentum switched. Another big momentum changer that I saw, guys, and we'll get to your questions here in just a second. We'll bring you guys in. Also, 620-UGA Talk. Give us a call. We want to talk with you guys. Another huge momentum swing that I saw, Trent, was in the second half. They started getting that ball out wide with Swift, able to get out past the tackles, in between the tackles and guards, instead of running right through the center in the guard, and it worked.
But how beautiful was they got – you're exactly right, 4 straight plays. They got out off tackle, and then you go play action.
Yeah.
And then that was the best. I mean, if James Coley has had a play, the best play he's called all year from an execution standpoint and everything, that was it. Perfect timing, coming off 4 straight runs with the defense.
And what player are you referring to, and just to remind folks about?
Lawrence Cager.
Okay, cool.
And let me tell you, Lawrence Cager is not the fastest. You could tell at times he wasn't 100% healthy, but the kid ran elite routes yesterday, and it showed. I mean, the drag route over the middle, he delayed, had a little pause in it, and then he took off. What he did was allow the linebackers to get beyond the first down mark and allow him that space to move to get that first down. It's just more knowledge-based. Lawrence Cager's a smart football player, and I think that's the reason why some of the freshmen have struggled. They're running the route they're being asked, or most of the time, but they're doing it too fast, too slow, getting there step slow. Lawrence Cager timed his routes perfectly or staying in, and it showed.
And, guys, getting into the chat over here, Travis, what's going on? Reagan, Elite GB, Kyle Rollins, John, Chuck Ward, OU, Herschel Walker, finally joining us. Thanks, man. Hey, Chuck, man, good to see you finally joining us. Like I said, thanks again for joining us, man. But some folks are saying Landers has to sit. You know, I don't think we saw a ton, and I can't remember offhand. I can look it up right quick,
What?
Trent. Tyler Simmons? Did we see a ton of Simmons yesterday?
Simmons had 20 snaps.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot. It was not near.
It's bad when I have this stuff memorized.
Yeah.
But
I haven't done my player grades yet. I do those tomorrow, and they get posted.
Matthew Landers
So.
had 37 snaps. That was very surprising, especially knowing that George Pickens only had 31.
Yeah.
So with Cager back, I thought
and Pickens wasn't a huge threat.
he
Yes.
wasn't, but Pickens is the guy
Correct.
that ran both guys off coverage on that touchdown to Cager. So while he wasn't a factor, he did do some good stuff, especially in the blocking game and stuff like that. But just the overall good win. I mean, Georgia left a lot of points on the board.
For sure. Somebody said that in the chat earlier. I
That
was gonna
could have
bring that
very
up.
easily been a 38-17 game.
I don't know what's going on. Why we have music playing?
What are we doing now?
I don't know why music is playing, guys. But anyways.
yeah, that could have very easily been a 38-14, 38-17 game. You got the touchdown called back with the Landers hold. It wasn't even a necessary hold. Swift was already to the corner. Another great play call. Toss sweep from the shotgun position. A great play call. But just overall great game plan. They what I've been asking for. They put James Cook in motion and threw the backside halfback screen.
So they did hear my little my baby song there. So sorry.
I don't know if Coley was just allowed to open up the offense yesterday, and he was told got the green light, but it was a total change, and it worked. It looked good.
It did. And a couple guys that stood out on the offensive side of the ball. Andrew Thomas, obviously, this was one of his games where he graded out extremely well, and one of his games that he can put on his NFL tape to potentially go in that top 5. He's a guy you're not going to see after this season, guys. So these last 4 games in this regular season and whatever Georgia plays in afterwards, make sure you take in what Andrew Thomas has been able to do, because he has blocked Jake Fromm's backside and done a tremendous job at it for the past 2 years, blocked on the right side for this first year. And he's a guy that I don't think we talk about enough, because it's just gotten to be one of those things where he's just so good. But when you have a left tackle like him right there, creates your offense to do a multitude of better things, because Fromm's not having to worry about his backside. Trey Hill, Lawrence Cager were a couple others. Solomon McKinley. I think one thing, guys, that we can touch on that was definitely in the press conference that Kirby Smart talked about was he said he sat in Friday night with the offensive line. Did you listen? Did you hear this part? I don't know if you did, but he sat in Friday night with the offensive line. He says Sam Pittman, he doesn't talk much in these meetings. He lets the players do a lot of the player-led stuff. But Sam stood up and he said, guys, they asked if we needed to hold tight ends or hold running backs or wide receivers to help you guys chip some of these guys on the edge. And I told him, no, it's just going to be my 5 guys up front, and we're going to kick ass. And like Kirby said, Sam doesn't talk much. He carries a big stick, and that's what they did. They came out, really turned it around. So big credit to the offensive line.
One thing that's impressive is how they were picking up stunts. It was just like a perfect offensive lineman day just performance. I don't think they were great in run blocking overall.
And they haven't been all year.
No, but that they've struggled at times with pass blocking, and that was an elite pass blocking performance. I mean, that's an NFL day for all 5 guys. I mean, they were on the same page. They were communicating. It was just it was. Even Florida said, what is the Greenyard or whatever his name is?
Oh yeah, Grenard.
Sorry.
Boy.
He he even said, it's hard to get around them big boys.
Yeah.
And it is, and especially when they're playing with that effort, with that communication. They're a top level. They are a top offensive line group in the country, and yesterday they showed why they're probably the best offensive line group when they're playing at that level.
We got a comment here from KDDSGB. What's going on, man? He said, good game overall. I'll always take a W, but we left a few good plays / points on the field, clean that up, and we can beat anybody with this defense. Another question I posed to some of my folks around and said, if this is a pick'em game, would you pick Georgia against any of the top 4 teams in the nation right now? I want to see what they do against Missouri, and I think right now if you're a Georgia fan, which you obviously are if you're watching this tonight, you have to think that this team is on the up and up at the right time.
Right.
They had their downfall. They had the loss to South Carolina. They had the monsoon game against Kentucky. They had a whole bye week to think about it. Then they come out and whoop up on the Gators, and now you can kind of ride that roller coaster, and you can see what this team's capable of doing because I think every position is healthy now. Every position's clicking on all cylinders. Jake Fromm's got his swagger back. Let's see what they can do against Missouri, and this team might really be able to bounce back and be for real.
And look, Missouri is not going to be no Walker. I know they've lost to Vanderbilt. They've lost some games that they shouldn't lose. But if you go look at the stats, I think Georgia's the number 1 team defensively in the SEC. Missouri's number 2.
Well, also this Missouri-Georgia game, let's not forget, Georgia is 5-1 in conference, I'm pretty sure, and Missouri's 4-2. So
it's a big game.
If Missouri wins, they're leading the East at that point. So it's still a big game. Kovacevic, what's going on? How are you doing? He says communication has improved in the secondary, thank God. Yeah, I think so, and I think, if Tyson Campbell can get back out there and play a full game, I'm really looking forward to that.
Really, I thought DJ Daniel played well yesterday. I thought
really big props to the guys that have filled in for him, though.
Really, what positions got hurt in the passing game yesterday was the inside guys of Mark Webb and
Mark Webb got hurt by Kyle Pitts.
And Devon Wilson.
Yeah.
And the safeties. I thought the safeties didn't come up. J.R. Reed made a nice play. He should have had a pick. But I thought the safeties could have played better in the passing game. But I thought DJ Daniel and Stokes played really good. Mark Webb got flagged for that pass interference in the end zone, which you got 2 guys battling. You saw the push off. But that's besides the point. We don't talk about refereeing. Yeah. But it is. I think the slot guys can play a little tighter because they got some of those inside slants, which I think Georgia was okay of because they wasn't going to get beat. They didn't want to get beat deep, and I think Devon Wilson and the slot guys have been beat this year, but they didn't want to get beat deep, and they kept everything in front of them, which was outstanding. But I just think I'd like to see them come up, play a little tighter, take away that slant, and they did more of that in the fourth quarter, but. Just an overall, just from an overall standpoint.
We got a call coming in, Trent. Let's talk to him.
Call from
Gerald.
Oh, Gerald.
Gerald, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Okay.
Lafayette.
Yeah, how y'all?
Good, man. Good. Your dogs had a pretty big victory yesterday, man. Talk to us about it.
Well, it went about like I expected, really. I figured it'd be a closer game. But, Georgia still dominated the game. They should have scored more than they did. More touchdowns, I should say.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Got
any good stuff for us, Gerald?
Yeah, what happened y'all Thursday night?
Paul was dressed up as Hot Rod, and he was trick-or-treating. Should have seen how much candy that boy got.
Yeah, that's what it was. No, Trent had to go take his kids trick-or-treating, and I can't get your name to come up on here, so I can't get my G to type, Gerald, so I apologize. I'm not going to be able to – oh, there's my G. Okay, I've been calling you Errol on the air here, so we got it fixed. But, yeah, I think we're going to switch over to Sunday nights, Gerald. Is that okay with you, brother?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Me, I'd rather be on Sunday. Really get to talk about the game. You know what? It's still fresh in your mind.
That's what I'm saying. So, what'd you do for the game yesterday? Did you have a party?
Nah, I just watched it here myself, and usual stuff. Get something to eat and watch it.
Well, what you eat?
Chicken.
No, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So okay, Gerald, real quick, name one guy on defense and one guy on offense stood out to you, brother.
Cager on offense.
Okay.
And it's hard to pick one on defense.
It is. That's
Really?
kind of what we were talking about.
I guess Trayvon Walker, I guess.
He did have a good game when he was a big play. He batted down a big
first
third.
game back for a while.
He batted down a third down pass. He did play well when he was in, especially in the situations where they needed him.
Didn't
Do what?
he? Had a sack too, didn't he?
No, I think the Aziz had a sack, and then Jordan Davis and Malik had half a sack. They both combined on a sack.
Okay, well.
Come on, Gerald.
Good, man.
Get with it, Gerald.
I can't see good, man. I tell you.
Man, so you might have been
Numbers right
thinking that you were rooting for Trayvon, but you were actually rooting for Jordan Davis or Malik. They were the ones that had the sack.
Hey, Gerald, Black Friday's coming up. You can get you a bigger TV.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, it is, man.
Yeah, sure enough. Well, Gerald, give us a score prediction for the next game, man. We're going to holler at you next Sunday.
Okay, Georgia win 30-14.
30-14. Gerald, thanks for calling in, brother. We love you, man. Take it easy.
Okay, y'all have a good night, man.
All right. Gerald's a regular on the show, guys. I'm sure you know who Gerald is. But Gerald said he thinks Georgia's going to cover that spread. He thinks Georgia's going to cover that spread, Trent, next weekend.
What's the spread?
14.5. It popped up today. Why does it keep playing music, man? That makes no sense. Why is it just randomly playing music?
You know, I don't know. You got this bootleg system.
I mean, why is it just randomly pulling iTunes up when I try to change the... All right. Well,
But, I mean, I think just looking at the game, what it means to both teams, the tradition of the game, it was good. It was great to see Georgia's offense come out and play with the fire and the execution that they had. But I just, to come away with a win, Georgia left a lot of points on the board. Georgia could have won by 3 touchdowns or 17 points. But that's not – right now, all that matters is you got the W, the offense looked good, and there's progress to be made on that side of the ball, and I think that is the positive to look at it. There's still work to still work, and it's a work in progress on the offense, and they're young. But I thought it was a great performance to come out with a victory, and the defense defense has been unreal this year, especially in the front seven.
we got a comment here from Bliss. She says, Amber Alert, anyone seen or heard from Scully, the Florida Gator caller that called from a few – you remember Scully?
Scully said the offensive tackles would not be able to block the defensive ends.
Yeah, they were going to sack Georgia
I promise you Scully will
crazy.
not be on this broadcast
No.
tonight. He will not come.
Yeah, Scully's not coming close. Brian says, I think UJ makes it real tough on Mizzou to move the ball. Georgia ends up winning by 17, even after a garbage late score by Missouri. I can agree with that.
Call from
Chuck.
Chuck, how's it going, man? You're on with Paul and Trent. You a subscriber over on UGAsports.com?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, man. Well, how's it going?
I'm better than I deserve. How about yourself?
We're doing good, Chuck. We're doing good, man. How'd you think that game?
I was very pleased. I thought that we actually we left a lot of points on the field that we didn't put in put on the scoreboard. But I think that both lines of scrimmage really controlled the game.
No, I do too. I do too. Who was your MVP on the offense and defense? You can't pick Cager, and God knows who Gerald picked on defense. He couldn't see anybody, so you got a free pass on defense, but you can't pick Cager on offense.
All right, I'm gonna say Andrew Thomas, but I want to give Swift a pat on the back. He picked up a couple of guys on some stunts and just cleated them.
Absolutely.
Brian Herring as well. He did a good job in the blocking game.
Yes, sir. He sure did.
And Brian Herring's performance kind of goes unnoticed. That catch was unreal.
Oh yeah, it's a catch that he'll definitely put on his NFL resume.
And that's what I'm talking about. That pass is not open.
No.
and Jake Fromm threw him open, and Brian Herring was just happened to be on the same page as them. and he was kind of an out route, and he went through it over the defender's head, and Harry kind of went that way. But it was an unreal catch, and I think there's a GIF out there that shows that Kirby Smart thought it was an unreal catch too.
Yeah, he did. He said he had a couple choice words on that, Chuck. Did you see that?
Yeah, he said, "Holy shit."
Oh, okay. All right.
We'll let you say it.
Yeah, we'll let you say it. But, yeah, is this OU Herschel Walker?
Defense. Jordan Davis played the best game he's ever played.
Okay, I can feel you on that. But give us your score prediction for Missouri next week, OU Herschel Walker.
31 to 9.
3 field goals or a touchdown and a safety?
Or a touchdown,
know yet.
a missed extra point.
You don't know.
Maybe a touchdown, a missed extra point,
There you go.
and a field goal.
There you go. All right, Chuck, man. Thanks for catching us, man. We'll catch you next week, brother.
Good enough.
All right, man. And that's Big Chuck from over at UJSports.com. He's been subscribed over there for a while. OU Herschel Walker. I'm sure you guys have seen him over on the Dog Vent in the Vault. And if you're not a member, you need to get over there, Trent. What are they missing out on, man?
All kinds of stuff.
Like what, man?
I'm telling you what's about to be popping.
What's about to be popping?
Recruiting season.
Man.
And it's going to be
this show's going to get real talkative around recruiting season.
And I'm telling you, you win games like you win yesterday, and recruiting season starts to get a little buzz about it.
A little buzz?
And,
a little buzz.
And it's just those big games, and you start to see. Do I think a recruit goes somewhere because of a game or a certain game? No, I don't. But the buzz around that game and what's going on, Georgia and Florida, they haven't had as many recruiting battles lately because honestly, Florida has not been able to land the top guys. But there is some recruiting battles. Darnell Washington to be one. Kyle Pitts had 4 catches for 78 yards in the first half.
Kirby even said in the press game, or the post game? You didn't hear that part, but he said, he says, man, when you got a tight end like that, and he just kind of paused. He just kind of looked at the cameras and he wanted it so bad. He can't say it obviously, but he wanted to be like, when you got a tight end like that looks like Darnell Washington, you can make plays like that.
Yeah, and
because he even said in the post game press conference, he said, you guys want us to throw the tight ends. That's what he said. He said, you guys want us to throw the tight ends. When you got a tight end that looks like that, and he just stops. And you know exactly who he's talking about.
Well,
he doesn't say it, though, and it was a pitch to Darnell.
Look at the stats yesterday. I believe, let's see, he ended up with 4 catches. He had 4 catches in the first half, but he didn't have one in the second half.
No, yeah, they locked him.
Georgia tight ends had 4 catches.
Yeah, I mean,
so I mean, it was a productive day. Just overall, I thought Fromm threw to the middle more than he has
all season.
Also, probably in his career. I mean, it was numerous passes to the middle. He hit Charlie Warner on a little end route one time. He threw a slant to Charlie Warner down there in the red zone, and it forced a field goal. If it had been anybody else but Charlie Warner, I think he scores. But the game plan was just awesome, and
they kicked ass. They went down there. They went down there and shut up every hater.
And you know what? The biggest thing you've heard the last 2 weeks. Georgia's got more talent. Florida's going to outcoach them. Dan Mullen got outcoached yesterday.
No, he did.
Todd Grantham got outcoached by James Cole.
We haven't even talked about Third and Grantham yet. If you're a Florida fan, because I was talking, like I said, I talked to Roddy today for about 45 minutes. He was driving back from Florida, so we were just talking about the game and stuff. And one of the big things that I said was, it was so weird watching that game on TV, and you watch it on TV as well. First and second down, Georgia would lose 3-4 yards. It would be 3rd and 14, and then they'd convert a third down. And then they'd do it all over again, lose 3-4 yards on first and second down, and then convert again. It was the weirdest thing to watch, but Georgia had control of that game the entire time, and that is what Curry was saying. He was saying, look, we like to run long, methodical drives.
Yep.
Now, I was watching the game with a couple buddies yesterday, and when they kicked that field goal after that long, methodical drive, I said, look, that's what happens when you do stuff like that. It kind of comes around and bites you in the butt. And then when Florida came back and there was only a 6-point game at one point, I think it was 16-10. Yeah. I said, look, that's what happens when you have those long methodical drives and a team can come back real quick. Even though you're up, you've put 3 scores on the board, 2 field goals and a touchdown. They can come back really quick. Georgia was able to capitalize on that and not have that problem. Trent, we've got a couple questions coming in. Said, where's Trey Blunt? I think Trey Blunt's injured, didn't travel with the team. Offensive line was amazing. LS says absolutely. Clay Melton says most important part of UGA's win was the apparent evolution of Coley's play calling. Maybe he's learning. Maybe Kirby's letting him run more of his stuff. Maybe Coley is letting Kirby run more of his stuff. We don't know. We don't know what's happened. We don't know if that lunch between Jake and Kirby said, look, we got to change this crap up because I maybe want to go to the NFL, and right now I'm throwing 10-yard ding and bops and, nothing's happening. Let's open up the field more. Nobody knows what happened, but from last week to this week, or the last game to this game since they had the bye, something's happened, right?
Well, you look at the offense. Yeah, it hasn't been great, but I still go back to halftime of the South Carolina game. In the first half of that game, there wasn't many runs up the middle, and then all of a sudden it changes at halftime, and it's pound the gut. I just have a strong feeling that Kirby was in on that. I don't know as much as James Coley's play calling. It was just he was being forced to do some stuff to try to break free that defensive line, and I think Kirby took the reins off and said, Coley, you go do your thing today. And it really proved. I mean, I don't think, James Coley's called a lot of grief that he's not a good play caller. He's not this and not that. And I understand.
Yesterday looked good, though.
I understand his time at Miami was kind of soured. But look what you got from Miami. You got Lawrence Cager. How bad was the quarterbacks on there at Miami that James Coley had to deal with that cannot get a ball to a guy like Lawrence Cager? The kid's dominant. The kid is a dominant wide receiver, and he would never got he didn't show that at Miami. And was it because of the quarterback play? I think it's got to be a big thing, and that's also goes back to that's what James Coley was dealing with, that quarterback play.
Yeah, we've got a couple more questions coming in, Trent. We're going to wrap this up here in the next couple of minutes, guys. If you want, give us a call, 620-UGA-TALK. If not, you can call next Sunday. But got a couple questions coming in on the chat line. It says, seriously, why is James Cook not getting at least 5 to 7 touches a game? We've gone over this. He got in a couple plays yesterday. I just think
he had a good carry.
Yeah, I just think that he wasn't part of this offensive plan against Florida. Is he going to be part of the offensive plan moving forward? Who knows? This might be kind of what we see.
This takes you back to those games where, who was it? Where you had Todd Gurley and you had Keith Marshall, and you have a game where it's going to be physical. Who are you going with? Who's getting the rock? Todd Gurley's getting the rock.
Of course, yeah.
You're going to go with the physical guy. I think Cook likes a little bit of that physicality, especially running between the tackles. I would still like to see Cook more involved on the edges, in the screen game, bubble screen, stuff like that. I'd like to see him more involved. But, I think Kirby made a comment that says if you can't pick up a blitz, it'll be hard to play. And I think that's a big reason why you're seeing Swift and Harrion out there a lot.
Because Swift picked up a couple big ones
I think
yesterday.
Georgia's plan was they were going to pass it yesterday. And you're not going to see Cook and probably Zamir. I think Zamir can pick up the block. I don't think he always goes to the right place. I think he's learning. But you go with Swift and Harrion, and they picked him up perfectly.
I think another thing was whatever transpired in this last month. This has been probably Jake Fromm's, before this Florida game, his worst month as a Georgia Bulldog, in my opinion. Just his overall stats, people dogging him, things like that. He's not a good quarterback. He came out and proved the doubters wrong, proved everybody wrong, putting up a 20-for-30 performance, 2 touchdowns. Looked good doing it. Let's see if now the team can rally behind him. Because it just, I don't know, it seemed like his head wasn't there, or something wasn't popping from South Carolina to Kentucky. It just it didn't look right. He looked more at peace, I guess you could say. Yesterday, I know that's kind of weird and corny to say, but he looked like he had more of a peace about him, that he was like, okay, I've talked to Kirby. I know what we're going to do. I don't know if that's a thing, but I know that he looked at more at peace.
But the one thing about Jake Fromm is he's going to hear the negativity. He's going to it's hard not to. You're a college student. You're going to hear the negativity. All the sports shows are talking about it. I heard
it's just like I don't know if
I heard it on game day yesterday.
Yeah.
This is not the same Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm loves playing with his back up against the wall, and it just showed yesterday that he is a gamer. He mutes the noise and he goes and plays, and he shut the doubters up yesterday.
It's just like back when we played in high school. You'd go to GAVSV, the Georgia Vin or whatever it was, the Peach Vin. I don't remember what it's called. You just try to see your name.
Yeah.
You put up like 15 points in a basketball game. You go in there and you didn't see it. So yeah, he sees, he reads.
I think I heard Cager mention something like I heard heard a South Carolina broadcast or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these kids are listening to all these shows. But it was just good to see.
But at the same time, though, if I was a starting quarterback for Georgia, I would be reading everything.
Or be downtown.
Yeah, one of the two. I'd be reading downtown and then football practice. But we got a couple of things coming in, Trent. Let's say, Robert Barnes says, to those who keep asking why Cook doesn't get more touches, I would like for you to tell me who doesn't get touches for him to get more to Cook. I think it could be more spread out. Swift had a lot of carries yesterday, 25.
You know where I'd like to see him at? When you go 5 wide down there and you run you're in the red zone. And you got two
they went 5 wide yesterday. A lot with Swift out.
Yeah, but the problem is you have Swift, you have 2 wide receivers, and then you have 2 tight ends split out. Where I would like for the things to change, you're not running the ball. You're 5 wide. Fromm's not running no QB draw. So you don't need those guys out there to be blockers. That's where I would like to see James Cook utilized. Put James Cook on one side, Demetrius Robertson on one side, and then put 4 wide receivers and Swift out there. Yeah, it's a whole lot better. I mean, you can convert that little quick slant to a touchdown yesterday. And I think if anybody there except Warner in that red zone play, it was a good play. It was a good draw-up play. I just think Warner doesn't have the wheels to get to the end zone. And I think if you throw that ball to James Cook, it's 6.
Yeah, I think so too. Guys, we appreciate you coming in, jumping in with us, guys. We've been live for almost 40 minutes, 45 minutes. We will be back next Sunday, 8 p.m. to talk to you about Georgia and Missouri, as well as a little bit of recruiting news next week because we are going to have some visitors because it is a home game, so there will be some guys in town we can talk about and talk to. For Trent Smallwood, I'm Paul Meharry. Trent, score prediction. Forgot to do that.
That's a long way from now.
It is, brother. But you got to. So okay. Do we need to? No, because we're going to definitely mess it up. We're not going to say the same score when we send it in to Roddy, so it's going to be totally different.
No, I won't remember this.
No, so I won't remember this either. So I'm going to go.
I usually send mine at about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I'm going to go 38-14. 38-14.
You know, I want to put. I don't think Georgia's going to. I think Georgia could score 38, and the reason why is
going 38, Trent,
because of turnovers. I think
going 38.
The defense forced some turnovers, but I'm going to go 31-10. 31-10.
Same score. All right, guys, it's really close.
38-14 is 24.
Yeah, you're
31-10 is 21.
Oh, bye. Hot dog, guys. Well, take it easy, guys. We're out of here. Thanks so much again for joining us. We'll be back next Saturday. Dinner time, man. Mama's cooking.
Meatloaf.
Yeah, boy.